Hey there folks, welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art and culture, and it's Billboard Breakdown. There are only three names that matter on today's Hot 100. Sure, you could talk about how a bunch of old 2017 hits got their final wind, or how Christmas music seemed to linger a week longer than I personally expected, but the real story to open up this week in particular, with the date slightly revised because Billboard is bringing things closer in sync with their tracking week, it belongs to three people. Travis Scott and Quavo under their duo name Huncho Jack, and Cardi B, who seems to be pushing very hard to extend her success into 2018. And where she comes most into focus is in our top 10. Well, okay, not all of it, as once again, Ed Sheeran and Beyonce sit at the very top with Perfect for yet another week. And really, I'm still not entirely convinced this isn't Vulnerable. Sure, it's nearly got the top spot on the radio and it's always been huge on sales, but it lost the top spot on streaming to Rockstar by Post Malone featuring 21 Savage, which is on the sales upswing even as it seemed to hit a hard peak on the radio at number 2. And that's not to discount Havana by Camila Cabello featuring Young Thug at number 3, which has regained the top spot on YouTube, still clings to the top on the radio, and while streaming is down, the sales are actually up this week. Now to me, the real threat comes from No Limit by G-Eazy featuring A$AP Rocky and Cardi B, up to number 4 on stronger sales and streaming even if radio remains kind of inconsistent. And hell, Thunder by Imagine Dragons went up 2 to number 5 thanks to its sales rebounding and that big performance, but it's a lot more likely because Gucci Gang by Lil Pump had a bad week, falling down to number 6 as both YouTube and streaming slipped with not enough sales in order to save it. Then we got Motorsport, our second Cardi B song with Migos and Nicki Minaj at number 7, which took big sales to compensate for its softening streaming to hold its spot. Hell, so did Too Good at Goodbyes by Sam Smith at number 8, with weaker streaming overall but more radio. And then since Mariah Carey dropped out of the top 10 with All I Want for Christmas Is You, we had two songs picking up their places. Bad at Love by Halsey at number 9, which has to be the only explanation given how its radio is really all over the place and that's all it has. And Bodak Yellow by Cardi B, making her only the third artist in Billboard history to have her first 3 singles all break the top 10, following only the Beatles and Ashanti. Now granted, she's only lead artist on one of those songs, and Bodak Yellow only rebounded thanks to year-end sales and consistently good streaming, but still, it's really her star power that got those songs charting as highly as they did, so I'm not gonna take this away from her. Good job for her. And on a very different note, our losers and dropouts. And we don't have much here at all. Seriously, in the latter category, the only song that's maybe worth mentioning is Wanted Me by Nav featuring Lil Uzi Vert. And even I would have a hard time justifying that as worth mentioning. Now beyond that, well, most of our losers don't surprise me all that much either. Dust Till Dawn by Zayn and Sia is dying off slowly at 99. Pick It Up by Famous Dex featuring A$AP Rocky to 85, and My Dog by Lil Baby to 84. They're evidence of the pretty short lifespan of most modern trap tunes. River by Eminem featuring Ed Sheeran fell off to 43, off a debut that they couldn't hope to sustain. And Cuda by 6ix9ine went to 67 because it's goddamn terrible, and I hope people are recognizing that. Now, I would like to say that our gains and returning entries are more interesting, but I'm not really sure I can say that when the only return is for Crippy Kush by Farruko, Nicki Minaj, Bad Bunny, 21 Savage, and Russian to 88, presumably because of that video. And as for the gains, well, like every year, we got a series of older hits getting one last win thanks to year-end countdowns on the radio, which meant that Believer by Imagine Dragons went to 25, That's What I Like by Bruno Mars went to 37, What About Us by Pink went to 48, and yeah, even Look What You Made Me Do by Taylor Swift was up to 66. Appropriate. Now for the last few gains, they actually do show some promise and also happen to be pretty decent overall. Young, Dumb and Broke by Khalid likely got most off the traction, up to 18 off that medley. We will come back to that, but it's not a bad song, and I don't mind it, along with Love by Kendrick Lamar featuring Zakari up to 11. This could well break the top 10. No, the big story for me here is Marry Me by Thomas Rhett surging up to 45. Again, this is a great song. I'm really happy that it looks like it's going to be big in 2018. I hope it keeps up that momentum. But now on to our list of new arrivals that start to look a lot less encouraging, starting off with number 94, Stir Fry by Migos. Like a stir fry, whip it in the kitchen,
wrist, twisted like a stir fry. Whip it in the kitchen wrist, twisted like a stir fry. Whip it in the kitchen wrist, twisted like a stir fry.
Now, before I get into Huncho Jack proper, I mean, I'm reviewing 7 of the 13 songs, over half the album chart. It effectively counts as a review. We got the newest single for Culture 2, a hustling jam which Migos decided to overstuff with food references against production from Pharrell of all people. And honestly, I really like his production here. A buzzy mix that still gives Migos all the space they need with all sorts of squawking bird effects that add texture to the denser trap percussion, and a low-key melodic hook that I can see sticking really quite well. And for a change, I actually think that Quavo might be the star of the song, holding down one of their best ever hooks, and his verse flows really damn well. Now Offset, on the other hand, okay, look, he's clearly trying to add some more complexity to his bars here, but at the same time, trying to make it booger slang for jewels, that will never take off, or at least for God's sakes it shouldn't take off, and it can't help but feel a little bit clumsy in his verse here. Then there's Takeoff. Honestly, his verse is fine, but you can almost tell that he's not quite able to keep up with the others in the same way in terms of flow or wordplay. And given that that's Migos here and the content's not all that special, not saying much. But again, for this sort of song, for what it's trying to do, I'm actually digging this a fair bit. I hope it gets big. Good song. Number 92, Saints by Huncho Jack.
Counting up the O's, I think. Yeah, looking at the O's, I drink. We can't see that on the road. I blank. Yeah, mama built the Saints. Yeah, counting up the O's, I think. Yeah, looking at the O's, I drink. We can't see that on the road. I blank.
Okay, time for this Huncho Jack business. And surprise, you get a hollowed out, watery flexing song with the xylophones warble with the auto-tune drizzled over everything, and the skitter of the trap beat sounds astoundingly flat and cheap. Beyond that, I guess the trade-off of bars in the second verse was decent enough, but I can't be the only one who thinks that it sounds really cheap and flimsy, am I? At least in Offset teamed up with 21 Savage, there was some edge to the song, some dark menace to the track thanks to Metro Boomin. Whereas with this, yeah, no, not impressed. Number 90, Motorcycle Patches by Huncho Jack.
Rip all the money out the plastic. Put it on her tongue and now she dancing. Gave her everything, now what you asking? Flip, make it flip, do gymnastics. Pop up, bean, unlock the talent. Eat up all the green, taste just like salad. 40 on my hip like it's new fashion. Blasting.
I'm starting to get the uneasy feeling that this project is not going to be remotely interesting. And really, can you blame me when the melody is swamped out in bass and is carried on a muted melodic loop midway to the back of the mix, all behind the overdose of auto-tune drizzled over everybody's voice that doesn't exactly provide a lot of potency? Quavo might pile on the ad-libs and Travis Scott might drone his way through a hook before squawking his way through repeated bars on his verse, but then he references getting stuck by love in his out-of-control flexing and beaten like it's Ike. Look, I didn't give Jay-Z a pass 4 years ago on Drunken Love, and I sure as hell am not giving a pass to this. It's boring, repetitive, and lacking any decent tune. I'd skip it. Number 87, Huncho Jack by Huncho Jack.
With two forms, ice my arm, ice shot.
Cactus Jack, yeah. Got plaques on plaques, yeah. Hits on hits, yeah. In the mix.
Huncho farm, Huncho, got your bitch on porn, yeah, smash. With two forms, ice on arms, ice.
You know, I always find it weird when artists name their song after the band name itself. It always just feels kind of strange. And yet, go figure that it's got the production that's the best on this album yet, with a mix drowned out in mist and a keening rumble of synths playing off the murky trap beat. And hell, Travis Scott and Quavo trade off bars a little bit better on this tune, until we hear bars about how Quavo bought himself a Mercedes truck he painted yellow like a Tonka truck, with all his guns updated like they were apps or something, and seriously, all that's true. Or Travis Scott talking about the girl sucking on his voltage. What happened to stroking the cactus, dude? I thought that was your main metaphor. Okay, look, this is arguably the best Huncho Jack track to date that I've covered on this show thus far, but again, can't say I'm all that impressed. Number 83, Dubai Shit by Huncho Jack featuring Offset.
Different place, different chips. ATL, this shit ludicrous. Oh well, I like who that is. Yeah, Dubai shit, Dubai whips. Different place, different chips.
You know, if 2017 did anything for me surrounding Migos, it was that marginal boost of excitement when you hear that Offset is hopping on for the guest verse, especially on a record that has thus far been a lot of flexing and auto-tune abuse and little else. Of course, what I wasn't expecting was added vocal mixing from Young Lean of all people, and an auto-tune chiptune squeal for a melody against the trap beat that only gives Offset half a verse. And yet, even that doesn't excuse the incredibly limp and underwhelming verses from both Quavo and Travis Scott. I mean, Offset tries to bring a quicker flow, but even he can't do much with this utterly grating mess of a song. It's shrill in a really ugly way, nobody sounds remotely good on it, barely anything is said to do with Dubai beyond a few token references. It's not remotely good song. Ugh. Number 71, Black and Chinese by Huncho Jack.
Please, hands on your knees, came up out the trees, everything achieved, bless me with the keys, never wanna leave, yeah, Lambo driving, you pedestrian, yeah, 200,000, a proud of pressure, yeah, she couldn't drive it, she took a Tesla, told her wrap around me just like the necklace, yeah.
So if I feel remotely excited when Offset hops on a song, it's counterbalanced by the sinking feeling I get whenever hip-hop is indulging in its Asian fetish yet again. And yet right from the wonky, plucked melody, punctuated with ugly, flattened autotune and shrill air horn squeals, you get the impression it's just gonna be as cringy as you'd imagine. But the truth is that neither Quavo or Travis Scott can stay on topic enough to come close to that fetishistic territory, outside of Quavo throwing in references to Taekwondo and karate in his final verse for absolutely no reason. Again, the rest of it is flexing with diamonds and drugs, and Quavo describing your girl running through the coins like Sonic, a gold digger that he's screwing regardless. Coupled with a refusal to end properly, no, I'm not endorsing this. Not a good song. Number 69, Thunder and Young, Dumb and Broke, a medley by Imagine Dragons and Khalid.
Young, dumb, young, dumb and broke. Young, dumb, broke, high school kid.
I was hearing warning signs about how awful this was since it dropped. But here's the truth of the matter. While I'm no big fan of Khalid or Imagine Dragons these days, I don't think either of these songs are all that atrocious, just kind of dreary and forgettable. And thus bringing them together, okay, the folks who did the arrangements from Glee probably need work somewhere. Why the hell were they not brought in for this? Which tries to flip from the languid tones of Khalid to Thunder's slightly tighter groove, but it does get there by sacrificing all the atmosphere of the former, cutting the single part of the second verse that I liked of the latter, and yet keeping that caterwauling excuse for a guitar solo in the latter as well. And when you realize that outside of some incidental similarities in the composition, there is nothing in the actual lyrics and writing that meshes with the content whatsoever, yeah, bad idea right from the start, taking two passable songs and making them all the worse in the mashup. I've definitely heard worse from the both of them, and this doesn't really push my anger buttons or annoyance all that hard, but still, not a good song. Number 68, Modern Slavery by Huncho Jack.
1800, so they paid me. Yeah, shaking my demons off, dipping my dreams in sauce. Never been fooled for sharks, wrist like fins of dolphins.
Rubber bands at the pavement. Gotta switch, I go brainless. Sip after sip, I feel painless.
Okay, the idea that wealth and commercialism is often branded as a different form of modern slavery in hip-hop and Black America, that's not a new one. Kendrick Lamar and Kanye West have talked about it at length and treated it with the darkness and gravitas that such a serious topic deserved on songs like For Free and New Slaves. And then there's Travis Scott and Quavo, who are about the last rappers you would expect to do this topic justice. So you get an Otis Redding sample that probably costs more than the rest of this album put together and certainly sounds a lot better than any of the other instrumentals they got, and have these two brainlessly flexing over a single verse. Charming. Seriously, guys, it's just in really bad taste to compare that brand of slavery, which is still practiced in parts of this world right now, to multi-million-dollar record contracts, especially when you're not going to say anything with any depth on the song anyway. Ugh. Number 65, Eye to Eye by Huncho Jack featuring Takeoff.
Left hand in the pot, real nigga we see eye to eye, real nigga we see eye to eye, yeah.
Okay, as As I said earlier, I'm not really convinced that Takeoff has really evolved in the same way that his peers and Migos have. But this was the highest song to chart from Huncho Jack, and man, you know what, I've stopped caring. Another desaturated trap banger with no significant melody that isn't drowned out, auto-tune drizzled over everything, and more brand name bragging that I've already forgotten about. Now, to be fair, Takeoff is easily the best part of this song, but I'd hesitate to call much of what he's doing here actual wordplay. It's clear that he hasn't really found much complexity beyond flows that are a little bit tighter than Quavo's or Travis Scott's. Beyond that, I'm gonna forget about nearly all of his Huncho Jack project in a day or two, and I'm not really complaining about it either, because this was not all that good. Number 52, La Modelo by Ozuna and Cardi B.
Quiero probar algo de ti para no olvidar.
Yo no me sé ni su nombre, pero la quiero. Paso y dejo su fragancia. Déjame desespero.
So here's something I'm a little bit concerned about with Cardi B. Since it's been proven that she can move units by her presence and verses alone, there's the very real possibility her handlers will put her on everything before she even has the chance to drop an album, which some are saying will drop in January, but who knows or cares these days. Anyway, given the increased viability of Latin singles, here she is opposite Ozuna, and really, I don't know if Cardi B's fluent in Spanish, but she's certainly capable of selling this sort of song, and her deeper, huskier tones are by far more interesting than Ozuna's frail crooning, almost so much that I wish she didn't feel the need to drop an English verse that was actually rapped, which kind of takes you out of the track a little bit. Now granted, it helps that the content is basically placing Ozuna a few steps behind her and drooling over her, and the mix offs for a more hollow sense of restraint, while using some of the more textured percussion to have a surprising amount of depth with only hints of the brighter synth. It sounds pretty good, certainly one of the better reggaeton instrumentals to have gotten bigger this year and charted. Overall though, I'm not sure how memorable it'll be, but you know what, it's tolerable, and Cardi B sounds really good on it. For sure, I like this. And finally, number 14, Bartier Cardi by Cardi B featuring 21 Savage.
Cardi got your bitch on Molly. Bitch, you ain't gang, you lame. Billy truck laying the lane. Blow up the brain. I go insane. I drop a check on the chain. Fuck up a check in the flame. Cardi took your man, you upset. Cardi got rich, they upset. Yeah. Cardi put the pussy on offset. Cardi be brain on offset.
So here's the big breakthrough follow-up to Bodak Yellow with 21 Savage to add the gangsta credibility that I'm not sure Cardi B needs. Whether or not her claims to have rolled with Bloods as a teenager have any viability or not, she certainly has more personality than 21 Savage has ever shown. So with their team up here, honestly, I see the appeal, but I think this might be the first cut from Cardi B that I'm not really as interested in. Yeah, she's flowing fast, and her flows are more diverse. She's got talent, and for once it actually seems like 21 Savage is actually having fun and switching up his flow in the song, even if his bars are kind of goofy. But her repetition of rhymes, her fewer punchlines, and production that doesn't emphasize enough melody behind the lumbering trap beat, they don't exactly highlight the strengths of her personality, or even feeling all that shocking or interesting. Hell, for as often as she repeats Cardi, it feels like an exercise in brand reinforcement more than anything else. Now, it's not precisely a bad track, I'd take this over most of Huncho Jack, and it will probably do well enough for her, but Bodak Yellow was smarter and more interesting, and like her fiance and the rest of Migos, I'd like to see the content get a little bit more complex or interesting if she wants to have some more viability down the road. But that was our week. Man, a whole bunch of this will not stick around, and thank God for that. Worst of this, pretty easy, with Huncho Jack getting both entries, a Dubai shit snagging the bottom spot for being unlistenable, and Black and Chinese taking dishonorable mention for just being kinda cringy. And yet for the best, yeah, Stir Fry by Migos easily gets that. And I'm giving honorable mention to La Modelo from Ozuna and Cardi B. What can I say? Good production, good performances, fine enough tune. We're now heading into the winter slowdown ahead, so unless we get another album bomb, and that could happen given it being Cardi B or Ray Shrimmer, we might be taking it easy for a little bit. You never know. But till then, I'm Mark, you're watching Billboard Breakdown on Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.